Hi, I'm Natalie Sisson, the Suitcase Entrepreneur, and in this week's episode, we're going to talk all about how to start the process of writing your first book and publishing it. So stay tuned. So we're on a bit of a covert mission here at the National British Library, where I'm trying to get my best-selling book into the King's Library over there, but unfortunately, it's heavily guarded. Instead, I'm going to share with you some top tips for how to actually start writing your book and then the publishing process. So a lot of people have asked me, how did I go about writing my best-selling book in short of 3 months? One of my biggest tips for you as a writer, if you have a manuscript sitting covered in dust in your drawer that's been there for way too long, is to set a date and deadline for when you want your book out there and published to the world. Now, the way that I did that was through running a Kickstarter and promising people that it would be ready by the end of July. But for you, just even putting it out there publicly to your friends and family and saying, I will write my first ever book by XYZ date is hugely powerful. My second step for you is to clear some space in your diary. Get into the daily habit of writing 500 to 1,000 words, even if it's crap. It doesn't matter. The point is that you are now starting to write your book. If you need more discipline, you could join a writing group where each week you meet up to just focus on writing. But otherwise, I would set yourself first thing in the morning or last thing in the day, whenever your energy levels are the best, to actually start writing. You can use something as simple as Word. I just used a Word document to write mine, or you can use something like Scrivener, which basically cuts out all the other distractions and just allows you to write your manuscript on a plain blank screen. Another handy tool that I used while writing my book was Evernote. So every single time I had all these ideas running around in my head, where I visited a blog post or I visited a website and I wanted to capture that, I captured it in Evernote under a book category, so I could always come back to those things and those points and include them in my book. Next up is, how do you get over the process of putting out work that maybe you think is not the best thing in the world? As you're writing your book, you're going to have plenty of moments where you're like, this is just terrible, who am I to write this book? So that is the time when you need a great support network. Reach out to a friend who's written a book. Reach out to previous authors and ask them how they got through writer's block. And surround yourself with positive people who really want to see your book finished. And my final tip for today, and I'll definitely share more tips in next week's video, is to have an editing team as you're writing, looking at your work. There's nothing worse than writing an entire manuscript and realizing that it should have been in a different format or potentially a slightly different language or stance, and just having people helping you edit along the way. I would suggest you hire a professional editor, but initially you can reach out to friends who have a really good eye for detail, grammar, punctuation, just to get a feel for what you're writing and tell you whether it's good enough. Now, obviously you want to pick the right friends who actually have skills and expertise in this area, but it's great to get feedback during the writing process. It'll really help you to stay motivated. And then you'll get one of these.